Well, hey, everybody, it is Thursday as the days continue to run together, and welcome to Daily Distinction. Glad you're here, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, or if you're watching here on Instagram, or if you're watching the replay, wherever that might be. The replays are on LinkedIn as well as all these others. So thank you for being here. Thanks for joining. Hope everybody's doing great today. Great to see you. As always, we're going to be talking about dumb stuff. My gosh, Lenny Gamage, how are you, my friend? Been way too long. Holy cow. Lenny is one of the people that have made FFA the student organization that it is. Lenny, in his younger days, was a national FFA officer and then continued to serve as a staff member, team leader at FFA for so many years, and just one of the great guys in the world. Lenny, thanks. It's so good to see you. Ken says can't see you. All right, you can hear me but can't see me, and I don't know why. Oh, wait a minute. Did that change things, Ken? Is that better? There you are. You probably liked it better with the black screen. So sorry about that. Oh, technology is great, isn't it? So thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. Appreciate you watching as well. By the way, if you haven't checked it out yet, please do. It's on every Sunday night, and it is the Ken and Glenn Show with a guy named Scott. Ken Walls that's here. Glenn Morshower, that you'll remember is Secret Service agent Aaron Pierce in 24, the television show. He's been in all the Transformer movies. Gosh, what else? He's on Fox, the Practice, the TV show on Fox. Just one of the awesome guys that you'll ever meet. And Ken and Glenn and I have a show every Sunday night. And this week, I guess I can say this. Can I, Ken? If not, I'll beg forgiveness rather than ask permission. Our guest on the Ken and Glenn Show with a guy named Scott is Brad Sham. Now, for many of you, that name may not ring a bell. For those of you in Texas, everybody will know who I'm talking about. He is the voice of the Dallas Cowboys, and he will be our guest. But we're not just going to talk about football. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff, and that's what we're going to be doing on the Ken and Glenn Show with a guy named Scott. I am getting so much about Frozen. We are having so much trouble with Wi-Fi. I've been using my, let's see if that helps. I've been using my connection through the phone like I did yesterday that everybody said was okay. Hey, Ruby, how are you? So great to see you. Ruby Newlegner is just one of the awesomest people in the world. Get this, I talk a lot about the customer experience. Ruby is one of the leaders in the field talking about the customer experience, except she focuses on the fan experience. The leading sports teams in the world are Ruby's clients. And so she has been involved in all that. So we're frozen again. The crazy thing is I ran a speed test right before we went on. Try it. I had to reload, but it's okay now. Keep me posted, Ernest. I appreciate that. I ran a speed test right before I went on, and we were like killing it with a speed of like 500 down and 50 up, and then you sign on, and it's not working right. So please keep me posted on that. I appreciate that. So Rick, great to see you. Thanks for chiming in from Twitter. Thank you for being here. That's terrific. Yeah, Dwayne, here we are. So I wanted to talk about one of the stupidest things I think is ever said in business. Oh man, Ken, nothing I can do about it. It's as good an internet as I've got. It's as good as we're going to be able to do here. I've switched back to my phone, and folks, I'm trying here. There you go. Oh, great comment, Rita. We've broken the internet. We've got so many folks trying to get on here that we have broken the internet. So there we go. You can, okay. Well, if you can hear, that's a start, right? If you can hear, it's all good. The folks on Instagram, I'm sure, are wondering what in the world we're talking about, because on Instagram, we're on my iPhone on Instagram. And so everybody that's watching there is seeing it straight. You're just not seeing what's going on over here, which is that we're having some problems with the internet connection, having some problems with with all that going on. I'll switch back to the other. I'll keep switching back and forth, and maybe we'll find something that's going to. The crazy thing is, I'm hardwired. I mean, I am hardwired into the internet. So, oh, Ruby says I lost you right when you were talking about me. Oh, Ruby, that's a good thing. You might not have wanted to hear. Oh boy. Well, oh, Ernest, thank you. There you go. I appreciate that. That's very kind. Phil, that's me in person too. I just happen to be a little fuzzy all the time. So we'll plow ahead. I'll call Cox Cable afterwards and see what we can do. That's the crazy thing. I'm not using Wi-Fi. I've got a hardwired. So that's what we're getting the slow speeds on, is even the hardwire. And then when I switch over to the Wi-Fi in the phone, which was what was working perfectly, that everybody said yesterday, that it's not going. Okay, so now I'll behave. Yeah, Ernest, yeah, you're right. But I used it yesterday, and that's what everybody said worked better than what it had been before. And now today it's not doing great. Yeah. Oh, I will behave now, Ruby. All right, good deal. Okay, so I want to tell you, and we'll keep today a little shorter since we're having the internet difficulty. But one of the theds that I think is crazy that is happening right now is that. A note from Dave Sheffield. Chef Sear says, a fine cigar speeds up the internet. Yes, it does. I think if I just had that, Chef, I'd be in good shape. Yeah, you're right, Ernest. That's our one our one problem. Hey, Ron Dottie says the sound is perfect, your face not so much. And I've heard that all my life, Ron. So I think one of the things that happens when we face any kind of crisis, we've talked about it just about every day here on Daily Distinction, is that it reveals part of who we are. Right? You've heard me say before that if you squeeze a lemon, you get lemon juice. If you squeeze an orange, you get orange juice. And this pandemic is squeezing us, and it is creating challenges for us. And it kind of reveals what's inside of us. But I think the same thing is true for business. The same thing is true with the companies that we deal with. The same thing is true with the organizations that we work for. It reveals as much as anything. And so it really struck me in this morning's Las Vegas paper to see this. It was the announcement that there is a property here in Las Vegas. It's Rampart Casino, and Rampart Casino is attached to the Marriott at Summerlin, and it laid off its employees by voicemail. Yes, it called their employees and it laid them off with a recorded voicemail message. Just listen.
And our families continue to deal with the anxiety and concern the COVID-19 pandemic has created. Up to now, we've been on a temporary layoff as a response to the company's public action, this work site being closed by order of Nevada's governor. As we look to the immediate future and the reopening of the company operations, we expect business demand to be significantly decreased for the foreseeable future. Retain our entire team. However, with the continued uncertainty, we no longer are able to do so. In response, we made the very difficult decision to terminate your employment. This is a notice terminating your employment effective on May 16, 2020. Job actions such as termination, permanent layoff, temporary furlough, and reductions in scheduled hours of this worksite commenced on March 17, 2020. None of the employees placed on temporary furlough or terminated, including you, had any right to claim another job at the company because of the COVID-19 natural disaster and national security. And
so there, you get the idea. On Facebook, or I'm sorry, on Instagram, a couple folks, Aaron, thanks for asking. In case you missed that, what happened is Rampart Casino, here, it's the one that's attached to the Marriott on the north side of Las Vegas. And so it's not as big as, Mandalay Bay or Bellagio or something like that. But Rampart Casino terminated all of its employees yesterday with a voicemail. In other words, you were checking your voicemail and the CEO of the hotel said, by the way, you have been terminated. We have decided to terminate your employment. And it didn't matter if you had been there 15 years or 15 days, you got the same voicemail telling you that you're fired. I just find that reprehensible. Ernest says that's just so wrong for Sunday night show. Ooh, you've got it, Ernest. I think I hope Kim doesn't beat me to the punch on that one, because that it is just so wrong. And that's the challenge, is that, read it as a voicemail recording, no less. I mean, now picture this, imagine this. Okay, so we get through this crisis, whenever that might be. Who knows when it's going to be, but whenever it might be, we get through this crisis, and now they want you to come back to work. What do you suppose the corporate culture is going to be? What do you suppose the organizational feeling and culture is going to be when you've been fired by voicemail? They didn't even call you into and it's not like they've got thousands of employees like Bellagio. I mean, they've got a lot of employees, but isn't there another way to do this? Couldn't you have the managers of, the housekeeping manager and the front desk manager call their respective employees and talk to them individually? I mean, it boggles my mind how organizations think they can treat their people. It's just crazy. Charles, what a great line. I can't wait to not stay there. I love that. I can't wait to not stay there in the future. That is perfect. Yeah. Renee here, on our good friend Renee on Instagram, is saying, we need more respect. You nailed it, Renee. That's exactly it. Ernest says, call Rampart and tell them I'm booking for Caesar's Palace in August. Yeah, I'm putting together a conference. And see there, it's like, what? How do you treat people that way? I don't get it. How do you think that you can make it and survive as an organization? How do you expect employees to create a customer experience if that's the employee experience that you are creating? I don't get how people, and so I've said, we're going to talk about the stupidest thing that's said in business. Here's the stupidest thing I think has ever been said by an organization, by a manager, and it is, quote, ready? It's not personal, it's just business. That's the dumbest thing I hear in business today. It's not personal, it's business. But yet you expect those very same people you're saying that to take what they do personally. You want engaged employees. Studies have proven that engaged teams make businesses more profitable. Engaged teams, engaged employees are better at what they do than disengaged employees. And then they treat them like that. How in the world do you expect employees that are treated like that to, why wouldn't they feel empowered to say to a customer, well, I'll get back to you with a voicemail? It just drives me crazy. Well, but it's not personal, it's just business. We have to terminate these people. Yeah, but you can do it humanely. You can do, I get that businesses are having to let people go. If you don't have money coming in, it's hard to pay your team. And I understand that, especially in a smaller business, because when Vegas comes back, whenever that might be, yesterday, if it was up to our mayor, but whenever Vegas comes back, you know what's going to happen? I mean, people are Rampart is going to be one of the last casinos that people are going to. They're going to want to go experience Bellagio and Aria. I get that. But why couldn't the housekeeping supervisor call every housekeeper? Why can't? And then how in the world do you expect those people to create this kind of experience that you want for your customers so they'll come back and grow your business if you're treating your people that way? It's just crazy. This is where you and Ken need to show Rampart how to use live chat. Yeah, well, they could have had a meeting on StreamYard or Zoom or something that Ernest, you're exactly right, and say, hey, let's talk about what's going on right now. And and here's my phone number if you have individual questions. And here's, and do it, because who are they going to want to hire when the doors get to open again? You're not going to want to retrain everybody. I mean, imagine what the costs are of doing that. You might say, oh, well, it takes too much time. It's, it'd be too expensive to get the people that are still working to call. How expensive is it going to be to retrain a whole new team or to train a whole new team? Because you got to get new people because you couldn't keep the folks that you had. Sheila, I can't find the stupid icon. Isn't that oh my gosh. It just is. Yeah, it's George Clooney up in the air. Yeah, it's like, and at least they let George do it in person. George didn't phone it in. At least they sent George to the location to get rid of those people in that movie. It's just beyond description how some organizations treat their people. I've said forever, I've been to a million conferences where somebody gets up and says, our people are our greatest asset. Then they treat them like this, like an expense. I got to cut you out. Look, again, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that everybody has to be employed forever. I'm not saying you keep bad employees. I don't think you should. I'm not saying that if you can't pay the bills that you tank your business trying to get. I realize there's obligations and challenges and responsibilities. I get that. But good grief. And Rampart, I'm sure, is just one example. And I'll bet you, it'd be an interesting, I'd love to do this for a blog post sometime. It'd be really interesting to do just kind of a list of the dumbest things you've ever had a manager, boss, leader say to you. I had a gun pulled on me at my first job by my manager. I was thinking of this. I worked at this little radio station in Scottsburg, Indiana, which is close to Crothersville, my hometown. That's the one I've talked about before, WMPI, Wimpy Radio. And you'd read that, Renee? You like that? So I was, back then, stations weren't on 24 hours a day, right? Particularly in smaller towns, because the overhead to keep the station on 24 hours a day. So whoever had the sign-off shift, which meant you were the last person on the air and you shut the station down for the night, usually, I don't know, midnight, right? And then the sign on would get there at 5 a.m. and sign the station on, and the station come back on the air. But we were off the air from midnight to 5 a.m. every day. Okay, so that was how stations worked at that time. Well, if you're on the sign-off shift at a little small-town radio station, you did other things to supplement your pay. I mean, other things at the station. So, for example, part of my job was to take a can of Pledge and dust all the desks in the office and to sweep, and then to take out the trash. The trash was out of the door of the station, around the corner, back by the transmitter shack. In those days, we played records. That's how long ago it was. If you remember records, we played records. And so I put on a long song. That was, anytime you heard the long version of Lying Eyes or, Stairway to Heaven, any of those songs, it usually meant that the disc jockey was going to the bathroom or doing something else, at the station. All right. So I put on this long song and I get the trash ready and I take the trash out and I open up the door of the transmitter shack and I get the trash there and I come back in. And I mean, evidently, the instant I walked away, the record started skipping. So the guy's singing, love you, and love you, and love you. And it took me 4 minutes to take out the trash, something like that. So for 4 minutes on our air, it had been love you, and Love you, man. Now imagine that for 4 minutes. And sadly, in so many ways, the person I worked for had a drinking problem. And he hears this, jumps in his car. He lived real close to the station, gets to the station, comes in and reaches in his pocket and pulls out a gun and points it at me and says, you realize what you did? This had better never happen again. Well, I guess on one hand, you could call that motivation, but it was not the right thing to do to an employee. So I've had some pretty wild, weird things happen as an employee. But when a manager says it's not personal, it's just business. Oh, gosh, Ken, you're right. Treat people with dignity and respect, and it's not that hard to do. I mean, look, I'm not even saying that you didn't need to terminate the people. If you tank in your business, you can't do that, but you can do it in a humane way. Ernest, doing a live with your employees creates more cohesion for corporate culture. Ernest, could not have been said better. So true. Yeah. Phil, I'm kind of holding back a little bit today, but if Rampart goes bankrupt over this and out of business, it couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of folks. That's kind of how you left feeling after this, isn't it? Some very smart managers know those who worked at Rampart and the best of. Yes, right. Charles, that's exactly right. If I'm a leader at Station Casinos, Renee is watching, who works with Station Casinos. If I'm a leader at Station Casinos, if I'm a leader at MGM or Caesars, man, I'm going out there and I'm thinking, who are the best people at Rampart? Who are the best people I could get? And I'm not just talking about managers. I mean, I'm talking about servers and everything. I would get out there and make that happen, right? Yeah, how to win friends and influence people wasn't on the reading list. That's for sure. Are you kidding me, Ernest? That is so wild. So the point is, if you want your employees, if you want your team, hey, if you want your kids to take things personally, then we have to invest in them personally. We have to make those kinds of connections that transcend individual activity. When I know that you care about me as a person, I'll do more on the job. It's just natural. So, look, at the end of the day, I realize I'm preaching to the choir here. You know, if you treated people that way, you probably aren't going to tune in a program like this and watch it for 30 minutes and then turn around and do that kind of thing, right? That it's always the people that need to hear it that never listen to it, right? But if we could just make more people aware, if we could just make more people understand. Renee is saying over here on Instagram, and as I said, Renee works with Station Casinos. They call us a family and a team. When we're working, they need to follow through with that for layoffs. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I get from a business perspective. Again, I don't want anybody tuning in late or watching on the replay to think I'm saying, oh, we got to keep everybody hired, because there are businesses that will fail if they have to continue to do that. So from a business perspective, I understand it, but it's personal to employees. So make it personal in how you explain it. If Rampart would have had people, or whatever business, we're picking on Rampart, but if they would have said, look, if we have to keep cutting these checks, we're going to close. We're going to go out of business. You won't have a job to come back to. So here's what we have to do now to ensure the viability of the business for the future. And you're going to have a team to come back to and a family to come back to after we get through this. Instead, they do exactly the opposite. We just need to be nicer, And I'll bet, to Renee's point, I will bet you they stand up and say, oh, our team, you're our greatest asset. You're our family. And you get a voicemail? You're out of the family. Hey, Dad, you're out of here. It boggles the mind. So the message for today is really pretty basic. Let's think about other people a little bit more. Let's be nicer to people a little bit more. Jeff, good to see you, my friend. It's not that hard to figure out treating employees is a great thing to do. Yeah. Jeff, you bring up such a great point. It's not only a great thing to do, it's a great way to run your business. It's the most profitable way to run your business. Yeah, that was a great movie, Sheila. Sheila says the movie Crazy People. Yeah, it's the right way to run your business. Look, people are going to get upset. There's going to be people you got to let go. You may have to let go of a lot of people because of what we're facing now, but be nice to people. Gee, did you ever think we were going to have to get together and talk about how that's important? But it is. And it's what we have to do to continue to grow our business for the future and to continue to get better at what we do and to create distinction in our respective marketplaces. As always, I appreciate, sorry for the lag in connectivity. Man, everybody's on. I can't, could you imagine how much bandwidth Netflix is using? I can't, or Hulu or any of them. Can you imagine how much? It's got to be unreal. It's just unreal. So anyway, thanks everybody for watching. I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. We're on here every day. We got some good guests that we're figuring out when to get them on. We got some good guests in the pipeline. So I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow, right here, same time, every day, 3:00 Eastern, noon Pacific. And thank you for sharing, because even if you share now here at the very end, it goes and people can watch the replay. So anytime you can share this, I truly appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow right here on Daily Distinction.